Today's generation. Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm Akorn. Welcome back to Laugh While the World Burns. I hope all of you are having a great weekend and that you're ready for today's show where we highlight some of the idiocracy that is modern-day society. If you enjoy today's show, please hit that like and subscribe, and share some of the idiocracy with your family and friends. We have a lot of good memes and some idiocracy news this week, so let's get into it. The price is white. New York Post. Ma'am Denny says white neighborhoods should pay higher property taxes. But remember, that's not discrimination or racism because it's only against white people. Breaking news. Scientists warn that Earth could run out of conspiracy theories by 2025 if they keep coming true at the current rate. We're certainly heading that way. Remember, boys, this is for our gender-fluid grandkids. If the men that fought in World War I and World War II knew what the state of this country was going to be in today, or even the state of the world for that matter, what do you think that they would have done? I think at the very least, they'd have turned around and went back home and started running for government offices, among many other things in D.C. And it's only going to get worse. Migrant crisis pushed U.S. homelessness to record high in 2024. Biden administration officials say the increase in the annual point-in-time homelessness count was driven by a surge of asylum seekers in January. Or another article, homelessness surged 18% to new record in 2024 amid a lack of affordable housing across the U.S. Why was there a lack of affordable housing? Because many U.S. citizens that were living in affordable housing or even in the shelters, including U.S. veterans, were kicked out so that the migrants could then be put there. And as we all know, that's barely scratching the surface into all the problems that it has caused. Over 90 private jets flew to Jeff Bezos' wedding, but don't forget to recycle, turn off the lights when you leave the room, and always use paper straws only. When corrupt politicians start going to jail, then we can start trusting the government again. This is true to some degree, except I don't know if there's any politicians left that aren't corrupt. Chuck E. Cheese employee arrested in mouse costume on credit card fraud charges. The arresting officer grabbed the suspect's arm and said, "Chucky, come with me," according to the arrest report. A Chuck E. Cheese employee wearing a character costume was arrested at a restaurant location in Tallahassee, Florida. Of course it's Florida, right? On Wednesday on credit card fraud charges. Janelle Jones, 41, of Tallahassee, was let out of a Chuck E. Cheese in handcuffs by police while wearing a full mouse costume. You never saw that happen to our Chuck E. Cheese back in the day, even though he looked like he was the head of the pizza mafia. Pelosi to allegedly sue McDonald's for trademark infringement. It's sad that these days it's gotten to the point that you have to explain when something's just satire. Otherwise, you'll get flagged for false information. I rewatched Terminator 2 last night. Fun movie about AI leading to nuclear war and how the easiest way to unalive someone is to dress up like a cop. Can't say its themes resonate today.
Saving 1 penny a day is $36,500 at the end of the year. Let that sink in.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's public education system. Never forget the paper straw wrapped in plastic. It not only shows the stupidity of people who push this, but it also shows the ones who created it how they're mocking the people. Speaker Mike Johnson went on camera and said he supports Ghislaine Maxwell testifying and wants everything released on Epstein. Then he walked onto the House floor and voted to block the release of the Epstein files. You don't get to act like a hero on camera and then protect predators in Congress. And as I mentioned earlier, this brings us back to the whole Epstein files and some of the fiasco that's happening right now. What's your guys' take on this? I'll be getting into a little more about this in just a few minutes.
Get away from her! Get away from her! Hey! Get off of her! Hey! Stop! Stop it! Get us a net! Is everybody just standing around?
How do you figure more ducks get made?
I know. She thinks it's ducks calling the other duck. Because it's moving faster.
Hey!
She's just making it more scared. Is that illegal? Oh wow. That's great. That's crazy. Just interfering with life. That's what ducks do. I think if the duck goes all the way out there, she's gonna fall. She has to follow. There's no shot chasing.
Just another example of how smart people are these days. Another conspiracy theory comes true. California bill passes to buy fire-ravaged Palisades for low-income apartments. And this certainly isn't the first time, even in recent year or two, that this has happened to multiple areas that has been destroyed by these natural disasters. This is exactly what I see when a grown man says he bought an electric vehicle. Well, they're not wrong. It might be 12 volt, but it's still electric. HOA violations involving woman's brown grass led her to being arrested and jailed for 7 days. And yes, this is a real news story. I could just imagine sitting in jail and someone ask, "So, what are you in for?" "My grass turned brown." HOAs should all be banned and dissolved. Arizona woman sent 159,000 texts to man she met on dating site. A Phoenix woman accused of stalking a man met on a dating site and sent him more than 65,000 text messages, apparently sent more than twice that many. Jacqueline Age sent a man more than 159,000 text messages, some of which were threatening, over the course of nearly 10 months. Guys, that is almost 16,000 text messages a month. How is it even humanly possible to be able to send that many messages to everyone that you know, let alone to one person? There is a lot of crazy people these days. Republicans, vote for us. We'll cut government. Me, show me. Republicans. Yeah, even Elon found out the hard way about this. Western teenagers praising communism. Eastern Europeans. The younger generations has been completely brainwashed in the schools and have no factual idea about what they're really talking about and supporting. Deported illegals could have cured cancer or been an astronaut. Interesting. Now do aborted babies. I would say something else here, but it'd likely get the video flagged. My friend said, "Come to the beach. There's a ton of women out here." That's pretty bad. With artificial streams stocked with salmon, 24 bathrooms, and a resort-sized swimming pool, eco-warrior Bill Gates' $131 million mansion guzzles 4.7 million gallons of water every year. the estate uses more water than what 60 average Seattle homes use in a year. And this is just one of how many places like this that he owns? Let alone all of these other eco-activists. Movies when women have cancer. Movies when men have cancer. Yeah, that's Hollywood for you. Here's another example of why HOAs shouldn't exist. This guy isn't even part of the HOA, and they still gave him this letter.
Oh boy, what now? Subject: grilling activities causing disturbance. Dear non-HOA resident Colton Briggs, it has come to our attention that your recent grilling activities have sparked multiple complaints from members of our community. While we understand the appeal of outdoor cooking, the aromas emanating from your grill, whether it be steaks, brisket, or other meats, have become a source of frustration for our residents, many of whom are vegan and find the smell of grilled meat particularly unpleasant. As neighbors, it is essential to consider how your actions impact those around you. The pervasive scent of barbecue wafting into our HOA-managed properties disrupts the harmonious environment we strive to maintain. We kindly request that you refrain from doing any more grilling outdoors going forward. Yeah, that's certainly not going to happen. Instead, we encourage you to explore alternative cooking methods indoors that do not release such strong odors into the shared airspace. What the crap? We trust you will take this request seriously and adjust your culinary practices out of respect for your neighbors. Please note that continued disruptions may prompt us to escalate this matter further. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation in preserving the peaceful enjoyment of our neighborhood. Sincerely, Mrs. Ronald Smith. P.S. For inspiration, many of our members would be happy to share vegan recipes that align with the community's values and contribute to a more pleasant atmosphere for all. I think instead I'm going to host a grilling party, and everybody within 100 miles that has a grill is going to come and we're going to smoke and grill meat. I think I can be grilling on a daily occurrence now. What do you guys think? I need some more recipes and different things I need to try out now on my grill. Let me know what recipes I should try out next.
Japan just built a womb outside the human body, and it works. The world's first fully functional artificial womb is here. Right on time with the rise of AI. Please break the window. The AC is on and I have water, but he left Taylor Swift playing on the stereo. Yeah, they definitely need to get him out of there ASAP. That's just torture. No dog deserves that. Lindsey Graham. POTUS announcement yesterday about sending American-made weapons, paid for by Europeans, to Ukraine through NATO was welcome news. Equally important was his statement that if the fighting had not ended in 50 days, he would impose up to 100% tariffs on countries buying cheap Russian oil, propping up Putin's war machine, hitting Putin where it hurts the most. If Putin and others are wondering what happens on day 51, I would suggest they call the Ayatollah. In other words, they're threatening to use B-2 bombers and drop bombs on Russia. Do people really think that Russia wouldn't intervene in that? And further still, most people, at least in the US and probably most Western nations, apparently still have no idea why this war started in the first place. Because you'll never hear the media talk about how the US and NATO broke the Minsk agreement, which they've now, in the last couple of years, came out and stated that they never intended to keep that treaty in the first place. And secondly, that Russia wasn't going to allow Ukraine to go into NATO because the US was going to put missiles in Ukraine, which if they had of, they'd have less than a 5-minute flight time to Moscow or St. Petersburg. Would the US allow such a thing to happen? No, because that's exactly what it was on the Cuban Missile Crisis, which that only happened because the US put economic sanctions and other measures against the Soviet Union. Where the woke used to live before the 90s. Yeah, because people can't use their turn signals. They're certainly going to remember to use this. China officially bans stating that it is against morality and family values. It's pretty bad when China, at least on this one particular point, has more morality than the US or any of the other Western and European nations. U.S. Olympic officials bar transgender women from women's competitions. The U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee changed its eligibility rules on Monday to comply with President Trump's executive order, taking the decision away from national governing bodies for each sport. The worst thing about this is that a law actually had to be made to try to stop this. And still yet, much of it continues across the country, especially in the schools, because there is no common sense or morality left in the country these days. The temperature outside today. I guarantee you, especially if your car had been sitting in the sun for a while. I went to open the door of my barn the other day, and the door handle just about burnt me. Ah, what a peaceful morning. My wife went to a Coldplay concert with her boss last night, so she's sleeping in. Time to browse social media. And if you guys don't know what this is referring to, this married woman and her big-time CEO boss got caught by the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert.
Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Now, as far as this meme here goes, I do not know if the top part is actually real. Do any of you guys know if that was actually in The Simpsons? Down here at the bottom, they talk about it. The world is a stage. This is from The Simpsons, Season 26, Episode 10, titled The Man Who Came to Be Dinner. If you guys know if this really is from The Simpsons, drop it in the comments. Because if that really was in the show, I mean, they're even wearing the same clothes. I want to say this has to be fake, but at the same time, these days, it would actually surprise me more if it is fake. Want to help with America's $36 trillion debt? The Treasury Department now takes PayPal and Venmo donations. Yeah, like they haven't already stolen enough taxpayer money to give to other nations and fund wars. Scientists create prototype of robot designed to cannibalize parts of other robots and build them into itself. True autonomy means robots must not only think for themselves, but also physically sustain themselves. Yeah, because nobody knows how that'll turn out. Here's another great press conference from Sheriff Grady.
You think, well, I have set up a deal with an ugly woman. And I think you would all agree that this guy's an ugly woman, right? This is what you really get when the makeup comes off. This is Jason Bathurst. Now I want you to think about this a minute, okay? You decide that you're going to hook up with a woman. She comes in and she's already uglier than a mud fence, right? And then as you start to engage, you find out, hey, this dudette is a dude and look what he really looks like. Yeah, he looks like he should have been in a Scarface movie someplace. I don't know.
I love the fact that the guy standing just behind him to his left is trying his best the whole time to not break out laughing. Fake nurse used at least 20 aliases to illegally treat patients. Just gets worse all the time. Me watching what I predicted unfold after everyone told me I was crazy. Former Cleveland Indians manager blames white people for wanting to return to old team name. Yeah, I forgot what the politically correct name that they changed it to now. But if fans don't like it, stop watching them and stop going to the games. They changed back after a short time of that. In case you didn't know what an electric car looks like from below. Yep, there you go. Fact check true. Lost the plastic cover though. The media, unaliving by way of firearm. Can we make this a race issue? Yes. Blame white people. No. Blame lead dispensers. That does pretty much summarize it. A lot of people claim that honesty is the best policy, then get all offended when you tell them the truth. That is 1000% accurate. The only thing that really changes is the topic that it concerns. Why AI is causing summer electricity bills to soar. America's largest power grid is warning that AI-driven electricity use is pushing prices up for everyone. If your electricity bill seems shockingly high, you're not imagining it. A big part of the spike is being driven by the rising artificial intelligence electricity demand. But remember, it's all our fault, because we have to run our air conditioners and fans. You know, I bet these days that Hooked on Phonics is probably selling more than they ever have before. Jeffrey Epstein committed self-unaliving, had no client list, FBI and the Department of Justice fine. The FBI and Department of Justice have concluded that Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender who unalived in jail nearly 6 years ago, committed self-unaliving and had no client list, according to a report. Yeah, just forget about all the different papers that came out and all the so-called records that they've been talking about this entire time, until the last few months when they completely flipped everything 180 degrees. You got a lot of people saying things like, if there was any Republicans that was in there, the Democrats would have released it when they were in office. Well, the same is true that if there was any Democrats in there, then the Republicans would release it now, which is what they've said they were going to do for the past several years. Instead, what has this actually been the entire time? As I said earlier, it was just another big distraction to keep people focused and occupied on things like this instead of the real things that's been happening in the country the whole time. Further, if there was any truth to any of this, like I said a long time ago, it's never going to come out. Is this an acceptable way to advertise plus-size clothing? Well, if you don't have any other way, what else you gonna do? Why do they call the winners of the Super Bowl world champions when it's only played here in the US? I mean, it's literally called American football. Homeschool kids are weird. Public school kids.
Hold Zir Zur Zim beer.
The sad state of the younger generations. If there are no clients, why am I in jail? Don't worry, she'll be getting out soon. I'd have to guess about 95% of Americans who mainstream media call the far right want only to work for a living, keep most of their money, raise their kids in peace, get them a good education without left-wing indoctrination, own a nice home, and be left alone. You know, extremists. Yeah, that is a term that they're using more and more. And unfortunately, you're only going to see this increase in the near future, especially when it comes time of all the people who refuse the up-and-coming digital IDs. It's only a matter of time and a few events away. Report: home invasions are up 54% in the Toronto area, and experts advise the public to get a dog. And if an intruder enters your home, basically do nothing, because there isn't anything you can do unless you want to be charged by police. Yeah, that's basically true, and it's also true for a lot of major cities here in the US and even some states as a whole. The best way to save money is to go in the house and lay down. No, you're still losing money. You got the air conditioner running, probably the computer and the TV on, and eventually you gotta eat too, so it all adds up. Now that the 4th of July is over, Mariah is starting to defrost. No, she isn't. Turn that freezer back up. Now this is one example of white privilege that's actually pretty funny. Give it a watch here.
The entitlement of these white people parking in these handicapped spots.
If there was anyone that didn't fully get this, he's talking about the truck. Lives on a desert planet all her life. Randomly knows how to swim. Maybe she was just thrown off in the deep end and told that you better learn quick. California couple put $33,060 on their tax bill instead of $3,360, and the IRS keeps trying to cash in on the mistake. Well, of course they do. Here in this box, it actually looks like they wrote it correctly. The problem is where they wrote out the words, they actually wrote $33,060. Pure luck. Farmer in Ireland digs up 50-pound slab of centuries-old bog butter. And yes, it is what it sounds like. Apparently, several centuries ago, people used to store animal fat or butter in peat moss bogs because it would preserve it. Well, this farmer found a 50-pound slab. You could just grab some of that and slap it right on your toast. You with the wrong girl. Angry message found on destroyed Florida home. An angry message was found scrawled on a Florida home that was wrecked by some heavy machinery Friday morning. Deputies responded to the home around 7 a.m. after receiving a vandalism call and found it nearly destroyed. Scrawled on the side of the home was a man's name with the message, "You with the wrong girl." Officials said no suspect has been identified, but the incident remains under investigation. It looks like she not only got the front side of the house, but from what I can tell, it looks like she got the back side too. Australia at 104 degrees. British media predicting 104 degrees in the UK. We've had over 104 degrees actual temperature here where I live, let alone once you add the humidity in. I know everybody's probably heard about this by now, but Trump says he's considering taking away Rosie O'Donnell's U.S. citizenship. I'm sorry, guys. This is just ridiculous. No, I don't like Rosie O'Donnell. I don't like most of Hollywood nor the media, for that matter. However, if Obama or Biden had said this about, let's say, Tucker Carlson or Mel Gibson maybe, the right would be in an uproar. All of the stuff like this is just petty distractions for both sides.
Guy's here to fix the leak on your solid gold faucet.
Send them in.
This place looks like the Liberace Museum.
Hey, I'm the prince of this city. When you're in my office, you treat me with respect.
Who did your decorating? Saddam Hussein?
I'll have you know this is all very classy stuff. And that painting of the tiger and the woman has got me laid on numerous occasions.
I didn't know gay dudes liked tiger paintings.
Hey, you've crossed the line. I've killed people for less.
Looks like you killed a squirrel to me and put it right on top of your head.
You're one to talk. Your hair looks exactly like mine.
Yeah, except my hair's supposed to look like this. I'm a janitor.
You know what's not cool, Bubby? Paying taxes on fireworks to celebrate the day we quit paying taxes. Yeah, and these days we pay more than 30% taxes, and even up to 50 and 60% taxes, especially when you start factoring in all the property taxes, license, registrations, permits, and a whole lot more. That's all taxes. And we ain't even getting into inflation, which is the hidden tax, although it's not so hidden these days. How it feels to stay informed. When you actually dig to find out the truth, yeah, it kinda does feel that way. Joe Rogan claims Hunter Biden could be president, insists he's more intelligent than most people think. Podcaster Joe Rogan suggested that former President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, could possibly become president someday, now that his scandals have all been exposed and it's become old news. Well, he is right in the respect that people's memories are awful short, and since the media has moved on, a lot of people will forget. Just like in a few months from now, most people will forget all about the Epstein files too. Real-life RoboCop makes debut in Shanghai, directing traffic at bustling intersection. China's really cranking out the bots now, and some of them can do a lot more things, especially for the money, than almost any video that I've saw of some of the others, that cost many times more. You never realize why you've got until it's gone. That is very true. When you post a meme shredding Democrats, so a Republican comments thinking you're one of them. As I've said on some of my past shows, I'm not for any of these politicians, because no matter who is selected for office, nothing ever really changes. The agenda always continues forward. I'm a good person, just damaged from being good to the wrong people. This is probably true for a lot of us. Riddle me this. How do immigrants strengthen our country, but not their own? It was always about making a strategic move to deplete resources and to put overwhelming strain on all essential services. The Kardashians have found a look that won't be copied. No, unfortunately, people still will. I got a parking ticket for using a charging station in an electric car. This is a pretty good one here. At this parking lot, for whatever reason, you're not allowed to back in. You're only allowed to pull in. I let a stranded 2026 Genesis GV70 family use my charging account. Then a Nissan Leaf driver started screaming at me for not actively charging. This is what EV life has become. Well, what do you expect's gonna happen with the kind of people that usually buy these things? I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying many of them end up being Karens and Kevins. With that said, when it takes 45 minutes to an hour to recharge your car, you're going to have a line of vehicles waiting. Could you imagine a gas station that you're waiting in line for gas for 45 minutes to an hour? It wouldn't be the first time that that's happened. However, this is just the normal times with all these electric vehicles. The EPA moves to slash Obama-era gas can regulations. Vent the darn can. Gas cans used to pour gas. Now they just dribble like a child's sippy cup. No, what happens half of the time is that you end up spilling gas everywhere else except where you're trying to actually put it. All because you can't get these stupid safety cans to actually work. July the 4th. July the 5th. If you go around to firework vendors, this is what you look for, because you know he's got the good stuff. I've worked for the post office for 2 years. This is a first. That ain't even enough money. I had to look it up because I think they just raised it recently, and they've said they're going to raise it again. But currently, one stamp is 78 cents. They print more money, causing inflation, so you have to invest in assets. Then put a capital gains tax on those assets, so you can never escape inflation. Fact check true, unless you're here in Missouri. capital gains exemption and motor vehicle fee hike bills signed by Missouri governor. Missouri investors will get a tax break when they take profits, and motorists will pay more to renew vehicle registrations under separate bills signed Thursday by Governor Mike Kehoe. If they can't screw you one way, they'll get you another. Never in my life have I wanted to steal a sign more than I do right now. That would be a good one to have.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
What do you mean you've seen this? It's brand new.
Yeah, well, I saw it on a rerun.
It's a rerun.
You'll find out.
Men, please put the toilet seat down when you are done. Thanks in advance, the women. Ladies, you are strong, independent women who don't need no man to put the toilet seat down for you. You got this. In support of gender equality, the men. Great response. No words needed. In Japan, employees who arrive early to work park further away from the building, allowing late arrivals to park closer and still make it on time. This practice is known as mutual understanding. I have to say, from the things that I've seen over the years, Japanese culture certainly is a whole lot better in many ways than just about any other country. And I think a lot of that goes back to the family, how they were raised, and that people still have mutual respect for each other in the country. Judge sends ChatGPT using lawyer to AI school with $5,500 fine after he's caught creating imaginary case law. Any lawyer unaware that using generative AI platforms to do legal research is playing with fire and is living in a cloud. And this is at least the second time I've heard about something like this. And that's only the ones that get caught. Phallic pink sculpture at New York City Highline squirts water, drenches tourists in depravity. Won't be posing in front of it. It's just more idiocracy by the day. Very sadly, this is 100% fact-check true. But the grocery stores these days are almost as bad as the fast food. Biden's teleprompter assures nation it approved all autopin decisions. It might as well, because it usually doesn't matter which puppet is holding the pen anyway. What people in California were promised. What they got. Well, most of the big cities and the rest of the country is heading that direction. Are you awake? No. The government has arrested more squirrels and raccoons than any of Epstein's clients. That is fact-check true. When you spend 9 months stuck in space and come back with a tan and your hair done. The soul-crushing weight of living in a totalitarian clown world. Memes. Me. That is basically true. In 1990, the IRS seized Willie Nelson's bank accounts and real estate holdings for a $16 million tax debt. Al Sharpton owes in excess of $19 million in taxes. Explain white privilege again? Well, like somebody added here, money matters. As in, whose pockets are you patting? Male self-unaliving rates. The wage gap. Prostate cancer. Breast cancer. They're not wrong. New York DA seen in viral video flashing ID to get out of traffic stop admits she was seeking special treatment. I actually opened the link to this news article so I could take this screenshot, but while I was there, I happened to see what was right below it, which is far worse. Dead New York woman wakes up during organ harvesting surgery. And no, this is not a one-off thing. This has happened many times. I read another one not too long ago about a man that was being taken in because he was supposedly brain dead, and even though he had opened his eyes at times, and they even described his movements as thrashing in the bed, the doctors were claiming all of that was just reflexes. Yet they were going to sedate him and take his organs anyway. Finally, the first team stopped and wouldn't continue, so the hospital administrator tried to find another team to do it. Eventually, it was stopped, and the guy woke up and was fine just a few days later. I honestly would hate to know that the number of people who have been declared brain dead or etc. who actually were not, and their organs were taken anyway. Because the fact of the matter is, to hospitals, all we are is walking dollar signs. And they want that money in any shape or form that it'll come in. Whether it's keeping people sick, having many useless tests and procedures that they already know isn't going to help the person, but hey, they got insurance, prescribing pills that you have to take for the rest of your life for every single problem that we may have, which often only causes more problems, and we take more pills to cover the symptoms of those issues. Or whether it's harvesting people's organs, after which they can use even just the organs from one person for many different procedures. Criticism of the current puppet isn't endorsement of a previous puppet. Fact check true. Man really excited for government to release all the government documentation of all the government crimes. Yeah, people really think that this is going to happen at some point, but it's all just more distractions. Imagine, if you will, a whole nation of idiots fooled by the television. We don't have to imagine anymore, unfortunately. That's a child.
That's a dinosaur.
When you promised to end 2 wars, and now there's 3. Well, with how Trump is now threatening Russia, things certainly aren't gonna get any better. Honestly, I don't think I have any more new passwords left in me. You want to steal my identity? Go ahead. Enjoy the dead in terrible posture. Montreal, Canada grocery store turns rooftop into functional garden in order to sell freshest possible vegetables in store. That's actually a pretty cool idea. Do car dealerships really have microphones to eavesdrop on customers' personal conversations? I'll tell you right now, they absolutely do. Back a lot of years ago, I was actually fired as a salesman at a dealership because I didn't completely rip off this couple that came in to buy a used car for their daughter. Their initial offer was twice as much as what the car was worth, and the dealership would have only tried to drive the price up from there. So I cut their offer in half before I took it to the sales manager. I was promptly fired about 2 hours later. There's 2 types of shoppers, job and no job. They're not wrong. When you realize it might be time to lay off the Ozempic. Yeah, maybe a little bit, let alone how bad that is for you. British tyranny. Police raid and arrest 11-year-old child for attending recent anti-immigration protest. British police have raided and arrested an 11-year-old child for participating in a spate of recent anti-immigration protests, some of which turned violent. Local police confirmed the arrest of the child on Thursday as they widened their crackdown against political dissidents and those who participated in the demonstrations. Do people really think it's a coincidence that all the Western nations are being flooded with immigrants, mostly from the Middle Eastern nations, and then protected by the nations that they're going into? Sure, they flipped the policy here in the US, supposedly, for the moment at least, but how many have they really gotten out of the country compared to the amount that has come into the country in the last 20 years? They'll never make a dent in the millions of people that is here. But that's not what it's about. They're just using that to further the agenda on another point. I might talk about that on a future episode. When the state takes the idea from cradle to grave a little too far. If you guys remember in a past episode a couple weeks ago, where Japan now has a working artificial womb, we're getting closer and closer to the Matrix. Actually, in reality, it's probably a whole lot closer than people realize, just in a different way. Let's all just take a moment to be thankful that spiders don't fly. Are you sure? They probably have some in Australia. We don't even need a translation. Prototype of the XF-907 Ultra Stealth aircraft achieves complete invisibility via exterior coating consisting of the Epstein client list. If you could stop making memes about Epstein's client list, that would be great. There wouldn't be memes if they'd actually released the info like they claimed they would for how many years now? But of course, it was never going to be released. Instead, this was just another one of their long-running distractions to keep people occupied and focused on. All the while, everything else just continues. Another load of electric car fuel leaving Wyoming. Don't forget the AI data centers. Only the two in the top left and the bottom left are correct. When your war stops trending.
I spoke to my ex after 10 years. Miss or Mrs., he asked. Doctor, I said.
He was asking if you're single or not. God, I would never want anyone that stupid to be my doctor. I absolutely have to agree. Although, unfortunately, there's a lot of them. Boss, do you believe in life after death? Employee, certainly not. There's no proof of it. Boss, well, there is now. After you left early yesterday to go to your uncle's funeral, he came here looking for you. Always remember to make sure whatever excuse you give, that it can't be checked to see if it's true. Uber to begin offering riders a choice of woman driver or good driver. That would actually be pretty hilarious if they actually did something like that. When it's so hot out, the state flower wilts. Yeah, that looks about right. There's a road that I know of that's been closed down for maintenance for almost a year now, so everyone has to take the long way around. White, well-educated Democrats are demanding lawmakers get shot to prove they're anti-Trump as deadly violence rises. And yes, this is a real news article.
I went to college, so that makes me better than you. Now pay off my loans, you uneducated racist.
The Daily Caller. Oh, I'm very happy. Latinos living along southern border rave over Trump's crackdown. Yeah, because some of them spent a decade trying to get their citizenship while they watch all these other people walk across the border and have everything handed to them. I pranked myself by going to school for 18 years for nothing. It's sad, but it's true. Every summer, fate chooses a CEO for the sacrifice. That's the ritual. Sure seems that way in the last few years for sure. I don't think the top left one really qualifies though. Vegetable, fruit, salad. This technically is true, although the government reclassified pizza sauce as a vegetable just so the schools could continue to serve it. But that's today's science. Meet Adam, master degree in philosophy, 100,000 in student debt, can't find a philosophy job, thinks people without degrees are stupid. Meet Chris, 4-year paid apprenticeship, no student debt, makes over 100,000 a year, about to disconnect Adam's electricity. There does now seem to be a shift happening from at least some of the younger generations that are turning away from all these propaganda camps, the colleges and the universities, and instead are turning more to trade schools and other things which can teach them something worthwhile to actually have a job. Stomach bug sickens over 140 people on Caribbean cruise, forcing passengers to isolate in cabins. There is far too many things that's been happening on cruise ships in the last few years. Even if given the opportunity, I would never want to go on one of those. Jeffrey Epstein's client list condensed. Yeah, pretty much. Antifa girls. Antifa guys. Wanted to throw in something here just a little wholesome. After retiring in Atlanta, Nikki Crawford turned an old school bus into a traveling laundry and shower unit for the homeless. His project provides clean clothes and hygiene facilities, aiming to bring dignity and relief to those living on the streets, one little laundry and shower at a time. Could you only imagine what would be possible if the local, state, and federal governments actually wanted to help people? I would say that this one man and his school bus does far more good than what the government does with $1 million of U.S. taxpayer money. U.S. approves another $172 million in Ukraine weapons aid. Yeah, because Trump said that he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine on his first day back in office, right? No, just gonna continue to fund the war just like the previous puppet, because the two-party system is a delusion. Imagine you get unalived and some girl skips your episode of Forensic Files because it's too boring. That is pretty bad, actually, when you think about it. The first thing that comes to my mind is unsolved mysteries. Yeah, I am not reading this one because I know exactly what the algorithm would claim that I said. The Epstein list needs to be released.
But it would literally destabilize the world. 2/3 of Congress and a large portion of the world's most powerful people would be imprisoned. Society would at least partially collapse.
I already said I'm for it. You don't have to sell it to me. I'll be coming back around to this topic a little later on in the show. I may be crazy, but crazy is far better than stupid. Since hair can't be preserved in fossils, we can't rule out the possibility that dinosaurs looked like this. I don't know about that, but I definitely could see them being more like giant chickens rather than reptiles. Who nobody represents. Who the Democrats represent. Who the Republicans represent. That'll piss a lot of people off, but it don't change the facts.
I know you told me to prep, but I didn't listen.
Okay, so why are you at my house?
Well, I've come to live with you now.
Research has shown that laughing for 2 minutes is just as healthy as a 20-minute jog. So now I'm sitting in the park laughing at all the joggers. That's one way, I guess. I've pooped in gas stations you wouldn't even pee in. That brought back a memory of a time back about 20 years ago when I worked at Circuit City. There was one day that our janitor was walking down the main aisle and he was pulling his entire cart with him. And I stopped and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "It looked like somebody went in the bathroom and blew up." He said, it's on the floor, it's on the walls. He said, man, it's on the ceiling. I said, I'd quit right now and walk out the front door. They should have hired a hazmat company. Coming back around to the Epstein files, the House GOP blocks Democrat maneuver to force release of Epstein files. But it certainly isn't just Congress. Let's go see what Trump has to say. Trump calls for MAGA base to end Epstein file obsession. Trump blames Democrats for Jeffrey Epstein hoax. My past supporters have bought into this bullshit. Hook, line, and sinker. I don't want their support anymore. Donald Trump criticizes his supporters as weaklings for believing what he now refers to as the Epstein hoax. Now, there's a lot of people trying to claim that Trump is playing 5D chess. And yeah, he is, but not in the way that they mean. Regardless of all of that, what do you guys think? Are you just going to forget about the Epstein client list and all the other things that has came out in the past years since this started and take Trump's word that it's all just a hoax all of a sudden? Or do you still want to know the full truth? Which at this point, we're never going to hear. Because even if they do release something, it'll never be trustworthy now, nor will they release what they have. They've already made statements that it would be heavily redacted, and as far as the names of the victims and things goes, that's perfectly fine. But all the other information should be released in full, but it's never going to happen. I want to hear your guys' thoughts about this, so drop it down in the comments. Why do mostly peaceful protests start shortly after schools break for summer? Because teachers, professors, and their recruits need to get paid somehow, and socialist programs ain't cutting it. Fact check true. OpenAI's ChatGPT agent casually clicks through "I am not a robot" verification test, as if it ever really stopped much in the first place. I don't know why people think it would stop the current AI. If Democrats truly believe the U.S. is such a racist and oppressive nation, then why aren't they warning immigrants not to come here? That's a very good question. Republicans announced plan to keep doing the opposite of what everyone voted for them to do. It just keeps happening every day now, but I don't understand why so many people seems to be shocked by this. I don't care what side the politicians claim to be on. They're all the same. Two things I don't like: a disrespectful child and a parent that thinks it's funny. Manners are very important. Not every one of them by any means. However, the majority as a whole in today's generation have no respect for anyone, whether it's their parents, their teachers, their elders, the police, or anybody else. But it all comes back to how they were raised and what has been pushed through the school systems. When you see someone get out of a car with California plates and walk towards a buffalo, that's very true, although it ain't just Californians, unfortunately. I've shown a lot of articles in the past about who I call the people of Yellowstone. Maybe I should make a show just about that. From Alex Jones, I hope this is not the case. What you voted for. What you got. I first saw this meme a couple of months ago, but so far, it just kept getting more and more true. Kamala Harris mocked for post celebrating 1-year anniversary of failed presidential campaign. Any reason to have a party, I guess. The technology we always needed. Why isn't this mandatory on all sheets, or at least an advertised feature? I never wish unaliving upon anyone who wrongs me. I wish for sudden explosive diarrhea while stuck in traffic with frequent sneezes. Man, they must really have a grudge. They have to be Gen X. When seeing graffiti on a bridge, some people That's art. Other people. That's vandalism. Me. How the hell did they get up there? I mean, that really is a good question. Are they like hanging off the bottom of the rail while they're spray painting? Solving problems isn't hard if the goal is to solve problems. That is 100% fact check true. Inmate mistakenly released from the same New Orleans jail where 10 others escaped. How sure are they that it was mistakenly done? And even if so, then whose incompetence is it? Since we're getting toward the end of today's video, I wanted to touch just a little bit about some of the floods that's happening all across the nation. The amount of devastation and loss of life is beyond heartbreaking. I don't know how many of you saw this, but here's some of the New York subway system. I believe this clip here is from North Carolina. People trying to get through before the floodwaters get too deep or wash out the roads and bridges. And this was taken in Texas. There's a lot of other videos that I've seen, and some of them are just almost unbelievable. Our hearts and prayers go out to all the families and communities which have been affected, or in some cases completely washed away, along with all the other not-so-natural disasters happening all across the nation. How many of you guys have seen some of the things that's currently happening in Yellowstone? Like they noted in this video here that many of the officials are saying this is migration patterns. There are too many videos that's beginning to come out that I just don't see that being the case. I know quite a bit about Yellowstone from a lot of research that I did many years ago, and if these videos turn out to be true, this is not good at all. If it were me, and I lived in any state near Yellowstone, I'd be wanting to find out where all the animals are going, because I'd be heading that way too. Most people today have no idea what a Yellowstone eruption would really mean.
I told her lead dispensers make me feel uncomfortable. She said we should both see other men.
If a man doesn't do everything within his ability to protect his family, he's not a man. Netflix is now using generative AI, but it risks leaving viewers and creators behind. Yes, it absolutely does, because it's also happening on this platform. They are now not only encouraging creators to use AI, they're even introducing advanced tools to make entire videos right here on the platform. So if you like channels where it's real people and real voices, try to watch their videos and give them some support. Because eventually, at some point in time, there won't be many of us left. If CNN existed in 1967, police kidnap peaceful protester. When it's hot outside and you need to rehydrate with a cool and refreshing beverage. I admit I like ketchup, especially on certain foods, but that's just disgusting. Breaking news from Canada. The Liberals have defeated our Conservative motion to repeal the government's gas-powered vehicle ban. In less than 10 years, Canadians won't be able to buy gas-powered vehicles. Instead, the Liberals will mandate you buy costly electric cars. This is insane. Ain't just about the cost, it's about the control. Just like I showed in last Sunday's video. European nuclear submarine command systems hacked. Source code stolen in major French defense breach. Yeah, you don't need to own nuclear weapons. You just need some hackers to hijack the systems. Don't just teach your children to read. Teach them to question what they read. Teach them to question everything. That's what most people, including most adults, don't do these days, especially when it comes from someone that they like. As long as so-and-so said it, it must be true. And I'm going to end today's show with this. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys back here on Friday's show. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this week. This is Akorn, over and out.